morning. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay. Chairman, auditor this morning? Well, that's all right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Okay. First, we have regular minutes of February 21, 2023, and rezoning minutes of the same day.
Okay. Minutes reviewed.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
All by aye?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Karen.
Next, we have claims for February 18th, 2023 through February 24th, 2023 in the amount of $672,393.63.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
All by aye? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Jimmy. Mr. Bramble.
I believe we've gotten through that part of it, the auditor's part of it. Okay. Next item on the agenda is voters registration. Commissioners on ordinance. Comment?
Do we have any public comment?
Good morning.
Good
Rick
morning.
Long, longtime resident of Eagle County. Just a quick question. I've come to a couple of meetings listening to this subject. And I'm just curious as how many county offices do not have a department head? Because I think most of them have department heads. And as I understand it, this issue is the fact that voter registration doesn't have a department head. So therefore, that's the reason it would like to fall under the clerk's office, or therefore the clerk's office would be the department head. So I'm just kind of curious is what are the employees? Are they just helter-skelter, do what they want, come and go as they please? Or who do they answer to?
In the other counties?
Other counties or here in Vigo County, if we have an office without a department head, who are these people answering to? That's my question. And if there is no one, if there's not a department head, shouldn't there be one? To me, this ordinance makes sense to where the voters registration, since they work so close with the clerk's office, this ordinance should be a no-brainer, and all the other counties that have it this way should have it. I think Vigo County should pass this. I'm just, again, you're all businessmen. I know you personally. I know you've had businesses. I'm a businessman. I would not have a department without a department head to oversee my employees. And I'm not saying anything bad about the employees. They may be great employees. They may be doing a great job. But yet there should be someone that they need to report to. You shouldn't be allowed to leave for lunch and not come back and have no one to answer to. So I just think this is, if all the other counties or most of the other counties are doing this, I see no reason why Vigo County shouldn't do the same and follow it. That way, again, the voters registration would fall under the clerk's office, therefore having a department head, someone to answer to. And as far as the politics go, I'm sure there's something, and Terry would know since he's the attorney, is that there's something in there that says, yes, you have to have half Democrat employees and half Republican employees. I mean, you can't have the clerk say, well, I'm going to have all Republican employees. No, that's not fair. That's not the way it's ever been. But I'm sure the verbiage has got to be somewhere where it's fair altogether for everybody concerned, both Democrat and Republican, and the voters registration employees have someone to answer to.
I'll let Terry.
So I guess I'll ask Terry.
He's investigated, we've all investigated that, and that is part of the problem, is the vagueness and the wide variety of what other counties do, correct?
Correct. Yeah, Rick, there does have to be half Republican, half Democrat. That's not an issue. The issue is, if in fact this goes under the clerk's umbrella, there are some counties, including St. Joseph's County, who recently, because we talked to them, they still allow the chairman to appoint the employees. So again, if the clerk's office is technically over the office, but the chairman still has control over who works in there and who's let go or who's hired, all that kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? It's just still kind of a mess. Right now, there's not really any good law out there as far as where this has been taken, you know, the Court of Appeals or anything like that and decided how it'll be handled. So we're in a situation where no one really knows the interpretation of the statutes. We've got other counties that, you know, may say that, okay, the clerk's office is over it, and now the clerk's office has total control of the office. But that's not what our investigation reflected. In fact, one of the commissioners actually asked the state to give an opinion on this. Brad King, you know, you've dealt with him before too. He said that he believes, as I understand it, that it would then be the clerk's job to hire and fire and all that kind of thing. However, we got an opinion in writing from someone from the same office up there that said the opposite. So that's what we're up against. Right now, it's just kind of no one really knows. So I think that's part of the problem the commissioners have had, since nobody really knows how this is going to work on trying to decide what's best and what to do going forward.
So if the ordinance is, if you guys, if you pass the ordinance, would the county chairman still have the right to hire, or do they also hire and fire, or just hire? So no one knows the question?
Right, and no one can give
Okay.
you the answer. I assume if they have the right to hire, then they also have the right to fire. It only makes sense, right?
Okay.
But that's not good law as far as being able to say, I know for a fact the law is this in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Bob Lawson from the voter registration. I can maybe clarify that just a little bit. When I was hired in, my understanding was that we only have the two people up there, the two directors, one from each party, and then we had a part-time person from for each party. If you look in the Indiana code on that, it says that the two directors basically share the responsibility of kind of watching over or taking over each other. But the party that gets the most votes for Secretary of State would be the one that would be considered the head of the department. And so in that case, it would be the Republican. And when Beta was still there, we had no problems. We worked very well together. Unfortunately, they haven't replaced her. And so, you know, I've been doing the payroll ever since I came on board about 10 years ago. Beta did things, I did things, you know, we had it all split up so that we basically had the jobs and we took care of them. As far as reporting to anyone, you know, like I said, we would do that with each other. If somebody wasn't going to be there, we'd make sure that, you know, if someone was sick, we made sure that it was covered. We've never not had somebody covering the office. And like I said, it is in the Indiana guidebook as to how that does break down as to who would actually be in charge. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, Leanna Moore, Chief Deputy Clerk. The one thing I want everyone to keep in mind, we have an election in 2 months. 2 months. We have no Republican representation in voter registration. What does that mean? That means the clerk's office picks up the slack. And this is what happens a lot. And I know Mr. Lawson said, you know, they work well together and all of that, that's great. But what always happens is the clerk's office winds up picking up the slack for voters registration. We wind up having to get alternates. A lot of times I know that they get some for us, but then when you have 20 people that call in on election day and for one reason or another they can't work that day, then the clerk's office has to pick that up and decide, you know, where are those folks gonna come from? If we don't have a Republican in there to represent voter registration, who is going to do that job? Simple question. It's gonna wind up being the clerk's office that don't have time or personnel to do that. That's all I want you to remember. The clerk's office is responsible for the elections. If we don't have the manpower, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna get the people? We have to start right now getting folks to work for the election. We've already got training days set. I know the municipal election's not gonna be as bad as next year, but we're gonna have this same problem next year if we don't take care of it this year. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to clarify just a little bit, there is a part-time person up there, Anthony Rubinacci, and he is acting as the person that's been getting the poll workers for their party. He's only part-time, but he still is working on that, so it is being taken care of, is my understanding. Mine are all done, not been turned in because we didn't know what was gonna be happening, whether we would actually be picking or whether they would be picking. But I do know that Anthony has been working on getting Republican poll workers, and see any reason why they won't be able to get that all filled up in a timely manner.
Okay. Mr. Lawson? Well, your payroll comes from the county, correct?
That's correct.
And what is that amount?
You know, I don't know.
You're uncertain what you're getting paid.
Well, I know roughly, but I'm not sure what the
Okay,
exact
well, we'll
amount is.
just look it up from the auditor. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I believe it's in like 43, 44, something like that.
Well, I mean, the clerk's office mentioned availability of people and funding or lack of. That's why I was asking. So if there is no person appointed from the Republican Party, perhaps there could be a way to place that money at least where they could hire somebody in their office to help with that or something. I
Well,
don't know.
and you know,
I know that's not your job, that's what I'm asking. I'm
No,
just trying to
but-
figure out where that money might be sent. That's
but I
what the
think it's
clerk
also
said.
one of those things that I really do believe that your party chairman will find someone if he knows that he's going to have that position available. My understanding from what I've heard, not necessarily from the exact source, but from around, was that he didn't replace anyone because he felt this was, not going to be an issue, so he didn't want to put someone in that could be possibly not there much more than 2 months and be gone. And so, whether that's something the commissioners need to task at finding someone if they're not going to, but like I said, it's not been a problem and it should easily be taken care of.
I don't think that's our task to find someone. I think that's pretty obvious from what's been said. I think what it is, though, is a matter of the clerk being able to do their job effectively. It's not anything about what we're tasked with. We can't cause that to happen. I was just trying to figure out if we might, as an entity, go to the council and say, hey, maybe you want to reconfigure this. They take care of the payroll, we don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's.
Like I said, I don't know a whole lot
I'm
about
just
what
having an
their
open
end is.
discussion about it in
Sure.
the middle of a public meeting.
I can only, like I said, I can really only speak on what our,
Well, I think you were speaking for the Republican chairman.
well, I'm saying I don't know, because I've not
Well,
heard that
I don't
directly
know, I've
from
not
him.
heard that from him.
So-
Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of us up here. We have taken this very seriously. Didn't sleep very well last night. Been thinking about this a lot. Been doing a lot of research. I do have a little statement that I'd like to make just because I want to make sure that I get everything in here. As I stated last week, I believe there is merit in making this change. I believe if we want our clerk to put on the best elections possible, we need to give him the tools to do so. As far as the argument that this makes the office more political, I don't buy that. There will still be a Republican and a Democrat in voter registration. And somebody there will be, and someday there will be a Democrat in the clerk's office. I can guarantee that if voter registration was managed by either a Republican or Democrat at this time, we wouldn't still be waiting 6 months for an appointment. We have an election in 2 months. And the fact that we have not had an appointment from a Republican chairperson is ridiculous. We have all investigated this issue. We've called the Indiana Election Commission. We've had our legal counsel investigate, and the consensus is there is no definitive answer as who makes the appointments. Several counties have the party chair and several have the clerk. Ultimately, it's this vagueness and uncertainty that is the big problem for all of us.
Anything else?
Appreciate everybody's comments. Very informative. Thank you.
Mr. Lawson, I appreciate the information you gave me. Mark, I appreciate you getting with the Indiana Election Commission Division. Terry, your information was strong when he called. He dug really deep, into St. Joe's resolution and how they did things. We had a really good conversation, email chain that we all had the opportunity to read. It was really good. I'm with Mark. I can't stress enough how embarrassing it is to not have a representation on the Republican side in voter registration office. It affects voters, it affects candidates, it affects a lot of stuff. So I can't, I implore Mr. Gentry to just make an appointment, put somebody in that office that is knowledgeable of elections and things like that so we can just move on. But at this time, I'll make a motion to deny the request from the clerk's office. And in a year or so, if we want to discuss this again, we can.
Change it. You want to vote nay on the ordinance?
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, deny the request.
Is there a second? Okay. Well,
Yeah, but I think if there's no second, it dies. Now, does anybody else have a motion to be the next question?
I guess this issue dies because of the lack of a second. Is there any other motions in reference to this? So, is it dead? Okay. Next item. National Opioid Settlement. Okay. This is a big thing for the county. A lot of talk about it, a lot of work's gone into it. Commissioner Schweitzer, do you want to read the required information?
Brandon, are you here? Do you want to give a little
Yes, please.
update as to kind of what you'll do with this money if we award it, or if you get the award?
Good morning, Brandon Halleck, representing Drug-Free Vigo County and Chances and Services for Youth. There's an opportunity from the state for the state side of the opiate settlement dollars that they will be distributing $25 million to local communities that put together action plans from within. There's a list of approved prevention, treatment, different categories. I think you guys have probably received those as well. We have a collective group of folks that have been working on this, ranging from Next Step to FSA counseling to Chances to various community centers to try to put together a collaborative effort that really would allow another over $1 million, $1.5 million or so to come into our community over the next 2 years to kind of continue fighting this epidemic that the state of Indiana is seeing. As part of that, The only way that we're able to apply for that is for the county or the city, and the mayor's office is agreeing to as well, to provide pretty much signing off on it, saying that you guys are willing as a county or a city entity, or one of the governmental entities is signing off on this. So that's my 30-second spiel on it.
Good job, thank you. So, got a document from the State Board of Accounts regarding the opioid settlement funding. The statute on the opioid litigation and settlements can be found in Indiana Code 4-6-15. These funds are settlement funds paid to the state from pharmaceutical companies that should not be confused with federal or state grants. These funds will not be reported on the SEFA and should be maintained in funds that have been created with the following number and names, which our great auditor's department has done that: opioid settlement unrestricted 2256 and opioid settlement restricted 2257. The restricted portion is controlled by the settlement agreement from the courts, while the unrestricted portion may be spent in the same manner as money in the general fund. Commissioner Klinkenbeard and I met with Brandon last week. He has got a large commitment from the city. He's got commitments from Sullivan County Commissioners, and we would like to make a $75,000 commitment to Mr. Halleck regarding this.
Well, it goes to the federal, to the
Yep.
Family Services for Administration.
Now,
correct?
if you are thinking, you got something else to say?
So it's on the Sullivan County, they're applying for funds on their own, so that's not part of ours. I just don't want that to be.
Okay, 10-4. You may be asking about unrestricted or restricted. Unrestricted, Vigo County received a little over $72,000 in unrestricted funds and $226,000 in restricted funds. So we could use the $72,000 unrestricted to Mr. Halleck, while also understanding that under letter G of Exhibit E from the Attorney General's Office of the list of opioid remediation uses, it certainly qualifies in prevention programs. And it qualifies in, hold on, this is 15 pages, give me a second. Training. So, programs, leadership, planning, coordination, and training.
Thought out, planned, and negotiated.
Correct.
Okay. This time, we just need a motion to allocate this, correct?
Yep, $75,000 motion to support Mr. Halleck and Chances and Services for Youth from restricted and unrestricted.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve the $75,000.
Second.
All by aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we have the resolution regarding the adjustment of maximum fire operation levy for Lost Creek Fire Protection District. Mr. Commissioner Klinkenbeard, you've been working on that.
Okay. I have here an email from John Hendricks, Deputy Chief of the Sealyville Fire Department. Attached, you will find the resolution that will need to be passed by the commissioners. As I said in our meeting a few weeks ago, this increases the necessity to continue providing adequate response personnel and service to our community. And with the additional service area of Nevins Township residents, this will allow us to continue our pursuit of merging our two response areas into one. We see a very bright future ahead of us, and with the commissioner's support, a bright future for all that this will affect. And I need to read this whole resolution? All that? Okay, bear with me. Okay, resolution of the Vigo County Commissioners regarding an adjustment to the maximum fire operations levy for Lost Creek Fire Protection District. Whereas IC 6-1.1-18-29 provides that a fire protection district may petition the Department of Local Government Finance to increase the maximum ad valorem property tax levy, provided the population of the area served has increased at least 6% over a 10-year period, based on data published by the U.S. Census Bureau. And whereas U.S. Census Bureau data establish that the population of the area served with fire protection by the Lost Creek Fire Protection District has increased in excess of 6% during the relevant period, and whereas the county commissioners find that an adjustment in the property tax maximum levy relative to the increase in population will benefit the property owners and residents of the areas served by the district, and whereas approval of the district's petition would primarily have the effect of changing the Department of Local Finance's calculation of the maximum property tax levy as part of its review of this district's annual budget as adopted by the county council, and whereas the district's 2024 budgets, levies, and rates will still be set by the county council later this year, and whereas to be effective, the petition described above must be submitted by the district with the approval of the county commissioners. Now therefore, be it resolved by the county commissioners, the commissioners hereby approve the submission by the Lost Creek Fire Protection District of the petition contemplated under IC 6-1.1-18-29 to effect an increase in the maximum ad valorem property tax levy, along with any other documents required by the Department of Local Government Finance or considered appropriate by the district. Adopted this 28th day, February 2023. I need a water.
Any other comment?
Make a motion to approve.
Second? Aye, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. As that seems to conclude our business for the day. Any comments from the public? Okay. Any comments from commissioners or other elected officials? Yes, sir.
Give you the list of the encumbrances we did last year and get it on record. Total was, overall funds was $3,513,852.42.
Okay. 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 So a list of funds that we didn't, different departments that we didn't use all of it in the calendar year, and we.
No, it's obligations that, were made prior to
Right.
the year end, but not yet paid.
Not yet paid. Okay. All right. Any questions, Mr. Bramwell?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I have a comment on opioid settlement. This came up several times. It was a negotiated settlement. The AG of the state of Indiana, as I remember, or at least one thing, advocated to settle for a certain amount, that they've done a wonderful job in negotiating a settlement for the counties across the state. And some deliberation and what have you, and our attorney was in on those negotiations. The commissioners at that time determined not to go with that settlement. As it turns out, Vigo County realized quite a bit more money out of that settlement. So it was some trying times and some deliberations, and but that's the way that that's the kind of things that we deal with day in and day out, make those determinations. The mental health and the with the drug rehabilitation, what have you, have worked to establish some very good programs across our county, and this was money that was not allocated in their budgets or in their fundraising activities or anything like that. So this should boost their efforts and hopefully make us a better community for that. Ben? Yes, sir. Elected officials, yes. Mhm.
Todd Thacker, County Council. I just wanted to thank you guys for the time and effort you guys put in looking at the voter registration. I know it was a very hot topic, and I do understand both sides of it. I do appreciate Commissioner Schweitzer's comment that, you know, if Mr. Gentry makes the appointment, I think we still can be able to achieve this. It would think that maybe we should look at, instead of trying to do that, is if a failure to appoint, there would be a default. That would be a better methodology, I think, instead of merging. Just a suggestion. I know that's what wasn't brought up, but I understand that, you know, the attorney had to look into that, and it seemed like there was a lot of vague across the state. So I just wanted to thank you guys for your efforts. I know sometimes we make decisions that aren't popular, so it's, and so, Mark, it's just one of many more nights that you're going to have like this. So, thank you.
All right, I got a couple things.
Sure.
Wednesday, March 1st, which is tomorrow, from 6 to really 7 or 7:30, we're going to have our last Markle Mill Dam public meeting where the public can come and ask questions. Mr. Monison's going to be there again. The 3 commissioners will be there. Our insurance will be there, and I believe Jerry Sweeney from Ecosystems is also going to be there to answer questions. That will probably be our last meeting before we make a decision on how to move forward with that. Next Monday, the 6th, from 4 to 5 or 5:30, depending on how much the public comes out, the council requested us to have a public meeting on our ARPA plan presentation. We will have that as well. We scheduled it at 4 o'clock because it's difficult for our employees to have to stay here for an hour and then come back at 5. So to make it easy for Karen or Jimmy or Cheryl or anybody who wants to come, we'll be here at 4 o'clock. Also would encourage members of the council to come as well if they want to also get some more information. Regarding ARPA, working with RJL Solutions, we got a document back last night on the specific buckets that ARPA money comes from. Talked to Cheryl a little bit about it this morning. We're going to get that into an ordinance and passed next Tuesday from the commissioner's standpoint. So that will be our official plan, and hopefully have a little bit of discussion with the council on that on Tuesday evening, the 7th. Regarding voter registration, Todd, Terry and I were just talking about a default be the commissioners make the appointment as the executive body of the county. I think that's something that we'll still continue to talk about if the vacancy does not get filled. Certainly, we don't want to be in that position to have to do that, so hopefully it happens. Also, I don't want to put Kara or Jordan in any situation, but I think there could be opportunity for HR. Maybe voter registration can report to HR in some capacity if they are taking time off or if they're not coming back. I don't know if that could work or not. I mean, it's something to talk about, but we'll figure something out. That's all I got.
Okay. Any other comments from public officials? Okay. Well, I guess we'll recess.
Wrong one? Okay. Well, I might as well drink this stuff.